all for coming to Gardening with Conifers. This is Fran McClure who's going to talk with you, and I will let Fran tell you all about herself. So, Gardening with Conifers.
Thank you, Paula. Well, thank you all for coming to the conference and to coming to this talk about conifers. I see some familiar faces from previous mini conferences, so that's a compliment that you came to my talk too. You should have 3 handouts, an outline of the talk, a double-sided handout that has a list of resources on one side and a list of conifers as problem solvers on the back of that, and then there is a third plant list, and it's sort of arranged slide by slide. If I have a picture, I've got, you know, the details of what that is. I think we should begin by defining what conifers are, so we're all on the same page about that. I mean, I did have a master gardener say, now what are conifers to me? And I thought, well, we need to all get on the, understand where we're coming from on that. I don't want to get into the esoteria of plant families and that kind of thing, but I think that we could define conifers as those plants that bear seeds in cones. Couple of exceptions, major exceptions, and that is the yews and the junipers. You know, they have berries, fleshy berries. Conifers have needles or scale-like leaves. I think we'd all agree on that. They're usually evergreen, but not always. And they include the pines, the firs, the spruces, and lots more. And they can be trees or shrubs or ground covers. And having gone to How to Give a Talk school, I want to let you know what I hope we'll achieve today. I want you to leave knowing why you should plant conifers in your garden. And I might add that I like conifers, but I am a missionary now after having prepared this talk. And we should all know where we can plant conifers and how conifers can solve your landscaping challenges. I will be mentioning a good many conifers as we go along, and I really tried hard, with a few exceptions, and I'll mention what those were, to illustrate with plants that are findable. There's a whole world out there of conifers for collectors that would take a major search, mail order houses, tiny plants, that kind of thing. But I'm aiming at things that you can find either in a general nursery or a special nursery that wouldn't be too far away from home. I find in my experience, and I do want to tell you this, I'm a professional landscape designer. I did the GW program, and I've been running a home-based business since 1998. And I do get a little bit into design. Those are solutions to your problems too. But I have found that conifers are kind of underrated by a lot of my clients, my gardening friends, and so on. Indeed, I've had some clients where I had to sell them on the idea of putting conifers in their gardens. Usually I've been successful with this, but I've had a few people that have yew anxiety or something. You know, you'd mention a yew and they would say, no way, I can't have a yew. My daughter is like that. And I think that actually there's some justification for this. In preparing this talk and running around in my neighborhood with a camera, I was appalled at how many bad conifers I saw. Let me show you some. Okay, well these are some nightmare conifers. The one on the left is an example of a badly placed spruce. Notice this is a one-story rambler. It's actually quite a nice house. This is in Kensington, but it has this enormous spruce next to it. It dwarfs everything in sight. I suspect that was a builder's plant 40 years ago, and it's never been taken down. But we see a lot of these. The one on the right, I think this is, you know, maybe the worst one I saw anywhere. If you're driving down up Connecticut Avenue into Kensington, this ugly thing is going to be on your right, just beyond the Presbyterian Church. There's a beautiful yellow kind of New England colonial house there, and of course it fronts onto Connecticut Avenue, and they had to want a noise buffer and a privacy screen, and they put up these Leyland cypress. Well, they were planted way too close to the sidewalk. The pedestrians need space to walk, and that's the pruning job that has resulted from bad placement. By the way, Leyland cypress had been typically the screening plant that has been used most often in our gardens, and it is one that I do not recommend. It's just too bug prone, grows too fast, and is too weak and so on. There are alternatives to that. The one below, I've been passing this house for a long time, and I have seen this many decades battle go on between this yew hedge and this house. Most of the time those people cannot get on the porch and they cannot see in their living room. And it looks like right now they're losing the battle. But this is another example of why I think conifers deserve some of the bad reputation they've got. But conifers can be an asset to your garden. So let's talk about why you want to plant them. Why you want to plant conifers? Well, I think there are three primary reasons. Conifers will give you a four-season look, four-season interest all year round. Conifers can lower your maintenance, your garden maintenance, and conifers can solve a myriad of landscaping problems, both the utilitarian and the aesthetic. Conifers have so much more than just winter interest, and I think that sometimes we put it in that category too. They do have winter interest, and they do that very well, but they also provide interest all year round. They have strong color, strong form, rich texture in every season, and they vary from the towering trees to the rambling ground covers and the shrubs in between. There's a conifer for everything. And if they are well sited and well selected, they can lower your garden maintenance by a lot. And finally, they just do solve a lot of problems, and that's the focus of this talk. I just want to say a little bit more about the four-season look. You've got an example here on the left of a rich summer perennial and ornamental grass border. Behind that you have a screen of varied conifers and so on. I think that form and shape behind this strengthens and gives this a framework. I think that's one of the good four-season looks that you can get. And then I wanted to show the more subtle side of the four-season look. This is the same place in a garden. You have the spring view at the upper right, the winter view at the lower right, and you'll notice the varied color of the conifers, the pine. This is a Siberian cypress on the left, the bronzy look, the more yellow look, and so on. So subtle as it is, conifers on their own do have more than a single look. Susan Roth, who in my humble opinion has a must-have book. This is her book called The Four-Season Landscape, and it's listed on your resources list. Roth's book is pretty dated now, and I wish she would update it because I think there's some new things to say about the four-season garden, but nevertheless, it's one that I have worn out to a dog-eared book of loose pages and that kind of thing. She defines the four-season look as a continual parade of exciting plants. Plants that offer color or intriguing textures and patterns, not for just a single short blooming period, but for several seasons of the year. And she goes on to say that woody plants, that is trees and shrubs and ground covers, and let me add here conifers because they're a large part of the woody plant world, give a garden permanent appeal and structure. These pictures are taken from Adrian Bloom's Gardening with Conifers book, and that's on your list of resources too. And I think Bloom has captured well what conifers can do in a landscape. But I did mention the winter look, and thanks to my colleague Paula, this is a winter scene. What would a talk be on conifers without a scene of them in their winter glory? I felt this was obligatory.